Hello and welcome back. We're at the start of season 5, midway through the draft, and so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to review where all the teams are. I'll just be going through each team as I did last time and pick out any observations that I have. As you can see, Palic is still in the lead, but um, that gap is starting to close now with three teams close by and uh, Indie and Obi catching up, finishing first and second last season. Okay, so starting with Dupe's team, clearly you can see in the formation that his manager is currently playing, it would be with wingbacks, but he's kind of missing a centre back at the moment. I think generally he's pretty strong on the wings, but that kind of centre back, centre midfield is looking a bit vulnerable. I guess the main concern for Dupe is a lack of kind of star quality, with Garnacho being his highest rated player with 168 CA. So with his draft picks, I think he'll be looking to kind of improve the core of the team, really. Okay, and moving on to Dunk's team. I think a pretty overall solid team. Clearly missing a striker, but he's already addressed that with Rashford in the upcoming draft. Um, Interestingly, no starting players over 30, so he's kind of good to go for the remainder of the draft here. Guess slightly missing that star quality with only two players over 170 CA. I think Rashford will be another one of those players, but if you had to be really picky, I guess that's maybe where Dunk suffered by not having an early draft pick up to this point. Moving on to Indy's team. So I think really the only weakness here is potentially a left back and maybe a slightly better centre back than Bremer. Um, Otherwise, this team is just stacked full of quality. So I think the only other downside is a potential lack of depth. So injuries could hurt him potentially. Moving on to Palic, currently leading the game overall. Let's say his attacking players there are quite old. Also, the fullbacks are looking a bit weak. I mean, it's essentially centre backs playing at fullback. All Palic's players over 170 CA are above 32 years old, so they're not going to sustain that level for more than a few seasons. So I think the real concern for Palic here is how he can transition to keep his lead, stay competitive, because without any kind of investment in youth, he could really fall off in from kind of season 7 onwards, I think. But with the new way that the auction is formatted, I think that's where Palic is going to have to focus his money on with the youngsters available in the draft, in the auction, sorry. Okay, moving on to Obi, last season's winner. I mean, clearly a very good squad. I think if you're being picky, could maybe say a young centre mid could be added. Casemiro's, I think, 34 or 35. but he's already got Frank Kessie in the last auction, so it's not a major concern initially. I think potentially depth on the wings. If kind of one of those front three gets injured, you may be lacking quality to come off the bench or to start. Okay, and moving on to Matthew Roy, one of the older average squad ages, although that is kind of pushed up by De Bruyne and Kostic, who don't seem to factor in his team as much anymore. As you can see, the kind of core of the team's very strong, potentially missing that natural number 9. Pep was playing Bernardo Silva as the striker after Roy chose to release Lewandowski. But with Musiala coming in for the draft, I think that's already been addressed, and that front three, or any combination of those front three along with Musiala, is going to be very threatening. There's also Bernardo Silva, that isn't currently on this lineup, but is obviously can fill in at multiple positions. I'd say the other position for concern is probably fullback. He's got a very strong midfield, good centre backs, so it's potentially some attacking fullbacks could be nice, as Ben Chilwell doesn't seem to be favoured by the AI. Okay. And we've got Redrup's team, similar to Dunk's team, very solid, good young core of players here. Hasn't really had a top draft pick, potentially up until this season with the number 3 pick. I think you're missing that star playmaker in the number 10 position. And I guess a left back, potentially even a right back, although Aarons is probably good enough for now. And so Redrup has chosen to bring in Alphonso Davies, so that's his left back sorted for the rest of the game. None of these starters are above 30 years old, apart from Courtois, so really it's just about, I think, bringing in a quality number 10. Now there's not really much else that Redrup needs to add. He's got Yeremy Pino, who would probably play on the right wing instead of Kulusevski here. And finally, Sean, who has the youngest average age squad. Obviously, Endrick being the star wonder kid of the game. In his first season, he made 16 starts for Sean, but then he's only made 10 starts in the last 2 seasons combined. So that would be concerning, as I think Endrick's CA is around the 150, 155 point, and it hasn't really increased that much in the last season or 2. He has released Zapata, but he's also got Sesko, who would normally start up front. And this formation, he would normally have a ACM rather than a flat centre mid 3. So either SMS or Nkunku would usually play there. I think there is a kind of lack of star quality without kind of Sesko or Endrick getting to their full potential here. SMS is 31, but has good natural fitness, so there's not a huge concern there. But yeah, otherwise, he's got a solid kind of centre-back trio there. But maybe looking to add more quality now, as he really needs to start putting some more points on the board. Not that he's a million miles away from Palic, but yeah, to kind of supplement the young core of the team. Okay, and that's my analysis of the start of seasons 5, and we'll probably look to do another recap in the next couple of seasons as we come towards the end of the game. Thanks for listening. Bye.